Today we are discuss about the Newton laws of motion. Newton laws of motion is the basic part, basic basic part of the classical physics. And then before discussion the Newton's laws of motion, first to discuss about the forces. There are number of forces included in the discussion of Newton laws of motion. There are two main parts: force and vectors. Force means the push or pull and required to change an object motion. And vector means it shows magnitude and directions of the force. Basically, forces in the inverse. There are namely first electromagnetic force, which is caused from electric and magnetic interactions. Second force, strong nuclear force. It is responsible for holding nucleus together in the form of atom. The strongest force act over the shortest distance, which is cover a short distance. Third one is gravitational force. It is weakest force and which act over the longest region, longer region. And last one, the weak nuclear forces, and this force is responsible for radioactivity in atoms. Then types of forces on the basis of the contact. First is the contact and second is the field. This is the example of contact force and field force. What is the contact forces? It exists when an object from the external world touches a system and exerts a force on it directly. This means that the contact force. For example, book puts on the table. Let if you push it and we are exerting a contact force, therefore we put it down, no longer interacting force, no force we are acting on the book, but table is touching it, and therefore table is now exerting a force on the book in the upward direction. Next, what is meant by the field forces? Let an object can move without something directly touching it. Means that you are dropped a book, or this book is dropped on the table, this book dropped on the earth. Means that it falls due to gravity. The motion of the book is moving toward the earth due to earth gravity. Means this is not a direct force, this is field force. This is not contact force, this is field force. Gravitational force is a field force, and therefore they affect movement without being in physical contact. There are other field forces are magnetic fields, electric forces, nuclear forces. Then next, Newton's laws. These Newton's laws are discovered or formulated by the Isaac Newtons. The era of Isaac Newton in between 1643 to 1727. He is an English scientist and mathematician famous for his discovery of the law of gravity, also discovered three laws of motion. And today these laws are known as Newton's laws of motion and describe the motion of all objects on the scale we experience in our everyday lives. Uh, Newton's first law, it states that an object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Means that if object is at rest, it remains at rest. There is no acceleration. If object is in motion, it remains is in motion. Means there is no acceleration. Means there is balance force. means there is balance force. For example, or what does this means? Basically, an object will keep doing that it was doing unless acted on by an unbalanced force. If the object was sitting still, it will remain stationary. If it was moving at a constant velocity, it will keep moving. It takes force to change the motion of an object, means that it is accelerated. Whenever external force is applied on the object, and therefore it get accelerated, and therefore means that it is unbalanced force or it is due to unbalanced force. For example, book is kept on the table. If the forces on the book, there are two types of the forces. Basically, there are four types of the forces. Two are horizontal forces and two are vertical forces. Forward force and backward reaction force is balanced, and therefore book remains as it is. There is no any horizontal moving. On the other hand, in vertical case, the table push upward on the book. This is due to normal rotation of the surface of the table is balanced with gravitational force which is pulled downward on the book, and therefore these books is balanced, means it is remains at rest. There is no any change, means that forces are balanced, means that forces are balanced. If it is accelerated, means forces are unbalanced, means there is some acceleration. Book is moved if it is horizontal or it is vertical. If the forces on an object are equal and opposite, they are said to be balanced. And the object experiences no change in motion if they are not equal and opposite. Then the forces are unbalanced and the motion of the object is changes, means there is some acceleration because due to unbalanced forces. The Newton's second law states that the acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the net force and inversely proportional to its mass. The numerical formula force is equal to mass into acceleration. Acceleration, it is a measurement of how quickly an object is changing speed. Means if force is applied on the object getting accelerated on the basis of or in the proportion of force and inversely proportional to the mass. Acceleration means it is an unbalanced force causes something to accelerate. A force can cause motion only if it is met with an unbalanced force. Forces can be balanced or unbalanced, depends on the net force acting on the object. If net force is equal to the sum total and direction of all forces acting on the object, means that net forces means always cause acceleration. Then Newton's third law of motion. It states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. For every force acting on an object, there is an equal force acting in the opposite direction. Right now, gravity is pulling. If we down in our seat, but Newton's third law says that our seat pushing up against you with equal force. This is why you are not moving. And there is an balance force acting on you, gravity pulling down. Newton's third law describes also the relationship between two forces in an interaction. It is always appear in a pair. It is always appear in pair, action and reaction. Means that one force is called the action force, the other force is called as the reaction force. Neither force exists without the other. They are equal in strength and opposite in direction. They occur at the same time simultaneously. And there are some examples of the third law of motion identifying action and reaction pairs. First example, car riding on the road. In this example, action force is the tire pushes the road. This is the action force. The reaction force is road pushes the tire. Means that tire exert a force on the road in the action force, and the road exert a force on the tire. This is the reaction force. The another example, the projection of rocket. Here in this example, action force is the rocket pushes a gas. Means rocket exert, sorry, gas exert a force on the rocket. At the same time, in the reaction, gas pushes a rocket, and therefore rocket moving in the upward direction in the space. Thank you.